What is going on, guys? I am BlackOpsAmazing. Welcome back to another Black Ops 4 Zombies video on the channel, where today I am going to be telling you exactly what is going on in the intro for Blood of the Dead, this new cinematic cutscene that we've just had given to us by Treyarch. It is super freaking awesome, but I know a lot of you guys may be confused as to exactly what's going on. Maybe you haven't read the Zombies comics, because a lot of information in them comes into play in this intro. So I'm going to break it down, tell you exactly what's going on, tell you the storyline that we have so far for Blood of the Dead. As always, if you enjoy the video, make sure you drop a like rating. Also, be subscribed to stay up to date with the latest Zombies videos on the channel. But without further ado, let's get into it. Here we go. So this is so damn interesting, because this isn't what we saw in the comics. And also, this isn't what happened after Zetsubo no Shima, when they teleported to here and then came back before Gorokorovi. This is totally different. The characters are here to collect the blood, but what happens after is totally different to what we knew. And in fact, things are changing. So we see, normally, just like we've seen in the comics, the PRIMIS characters of Takeo, Nikolai, Dempsey and Richtofen are here in Alcatraz to collect the blood vials from Richtofen. The characters slowly make their way through the prison, through this hole in the wall, and as we can see, they make their way through and they are now on the inside of Alcatraz.
Where have you taken us?
They should be closer to the lab. No matter.
The PRIMIS version of Richtofen says we must make our way to the lab, of course, because that is where the blood vials are located. If you remember, not too long before, an alternate version of Richtofen, which we will see later, built this laboratory under Alcatraz. He built it along with Stanley Ferguson and members of the Illuminati to store not only the transit crew down here, but also it was a place to keep the blood vials. You can see Richtofen says we should be closer to the lab, no matter. So it seems like he knows that something has gone wrong. Clearly this cutscene that we've seen in the comics is already different to what we know. The PRIMIS version of Richtofen can tell that something isn't right. He should have teleported closer to the lab. As we saw in the comics, they pretty much teleported directly in there, whereas in this cutscene, they are further away. They have had to make their way themselves through the prison. However, PRIMIS Richtofen leads Takeo, Nikolai and Dempsey down to the lab, and when they get down there, they see the alternate version of Richtofen reading the Kronorium. You can see this Richtofen says to the PRIMIS version of himself, "You're late."
You're late.
And again, this is strange because in the comics, if you read them, he actually says you're right on time. Whereas in this intro, he tells them they're late. So again, we can clearly see that something's already wrong. The PRIMIS Richtofen hasn't teleported where he was supposed to, like in the comics, which meant he was on time. This time he's late and he's walked in on the alternate version of himself reading the Kronorium. And this is where things change. Because of him being late, because of Richtofen reading the Kronorium, he learns something new, and this is where things go wrong. You can see there's a problem. He hands Richtofen the blood vials. We already know that these are for the other three characters of Takeo, Nikolai and Dempsey, so that they would survive in Revelations. We then see Nikolai go up to the cryogenic chambers, where he looks at Misty. As I said earlier, the alternate version of Richtofen built this lab to store the transit crew in these cryogenic chambers, and the reason he said he stored them is because he's waiting for a perfect world for them to live in. At least that's what he said. So right now, at this point, the transit crew are sleeping in cryogenic chambers under Alcatraz. But from here on, things are totally different. So getting back to it, the alternate version of Richtofen gave the PRIMIS Richtofen the blood vials.
2 for each of them. Survival depends on it. Yeah, you remember.
He says to him, "Here are the blood vials, survival depends on it, 2 for each of them. Yeah, you remember." We know that these two versions of Richtofen have met before. It was a long time ago, before Origins. That was when alternate Richtofen first gave PRIMIS Richtofen his blood vials. So they have met before, which could explain why he's telling him, yeah, you remember, you know what to do. That could be one reason, is because, well, he told him what to do with his own in Origins, so he should know what to do with the other 3 characters already. Or it could mean that he remembers because they are trapped in a loop. They've been in this situation before, so there's no need for him to tell Richtofen again what exactly to do. But you can clearly tell by what alternate Richtofen is saying that he's confused.
So much to do. The vessel for access, the opening of the gateways.
He's read the Kronorium, but something's different, which is explained in a second. Alternate Richtofen gives Primis Richtofen the chronorium. He tells him he's already read it, which he has, obviously. If he knew how to get the summoning key, if he knew to come to Alcatraz to collect the blood vials, Primis Richtofen has already read the chronorium, so why would he want to read it again? But he's told to, so he opens up a page, and when he looks inside, the information inside of here is changed. It's not the same to what he read before. It's different. When Primis Richtofen reads the chronorium, clearly it tells him that something bad is going to happen. We don't know what this is because we've only read the other version of the chronorium. This one that Primis Richtofen's reading is totally different. For all we know, it could say that he's going to die in Alcatraz if he doesn't do something or whatever, I don't know. But Alternate Richtofen gives him the chronorium, tells him to read it, and then leaves. He opens up a portal for himself and goes. Primis Richtofen says, "You possibly can't expect me to let this happen." He gets angry and then throws the chronorium at the portal. In anger, it lands on the floor, and you can see by Primis Richtofen's eyes something has gone wrong. The plan isn't as he originally thought, things are different, and he says, "We are leaving." The zombies begin attacking the prison, which again is another sign that something's wrong, because this shouldn't be happening. They make their way to the portal that they're going to use to leave the prison, and just as they're about to leave, Brutus comes out of nowhere and closes it. He hits the portal, closing it, which also kills him, but as we know, Brutus will be reborn. So he will be back, don't worry. I'm sure when we play Blood of the Dead we are going to see Brutus again. However, in this intro he does kill himself when he closes the portal, which now leaves the Primis crew trapped in Alcatraz. Richtofen says to himself, "What have I done?" realizing that he has nowhere to go, that he now doesn't have a portal to escape from, meaning that the characters have to find an alternate route off Alcatraz. They make their way down to the docks whilst killing the zombies as well. They get there and realised they're trapped. They're on an island, they're surrounded by water, there's no way off. So how exactly are the Primis crew gonna escape Alcatraz? Well, we'll just have to wait and see. And as you saw by the trailer, there were so many areas that we haven't seen before, so when we play this map, it's gonna be a lot bigger, there's gonna be new areas, and I'm guessing it's gonna be up to us not only to find a new way off the island, but also to find out what exactly Richtofen read in the chronorium. It seems like they were simply here, as they've done many times before, trapped in this endless cycle to collect the blood vials, but this time, because they were late, that gave the alternate Richtofen a chance to read the chronorium, and when he started reading it, the information inside was different. It shouldn't have been, because he's read it many times before, but when he reads it, the writing is different. It clearly tells Primis Richtofen something he didn't know, something about himself, about his future, about what's going to happen. The alternate version of Richtofen quickly goes. I have no idea where he went. It seems like he's running from something, or possibly running from the same thing that Primis Richtofen is running from. He leaves, and so as Primis Richtofen is about to leave, Brutus closes the portal, leaving them trapped on Alcatraz. And that's exactly where we are in Blood of the Dead. And also, I forgot to say this, I'm just recording this after, so the audio may sound a little bit different, but I've just thought, well, what if the thing that Richtofen read had something to do with breaking the cycle? What if in the chronorium, the new information that he had in here showed him how the cycle could be broken? As I've mentioned many times, we know that they are stuck in this endless cycle. They do the same thing over and over again, but as we've seen in this intro, clearly the same thing hasn't happened this time. Something has changed, and because of that change, that could possibly now mean that the cycle can be broken. Maybe that is what was in here, or did it possibly tell him something to do with Dr. Monty? We've had this suspicion for a long time that Dr. Monty is evil. He has been trying to kill our characters. He is the one that is keeping us in this endless cycle, doing the same thing over and over again. Well, what if the chronorium, since we now have new information in here, reveals something about Monty in the future, and Richtofen has just learned that? Again, that could be another thing. It seems like this cutscene does take place in between Zetsuben Oshima and Garrod Kurovi, but it's clearly different. It is during that time, but those events that happened originally don't take place in this cutscene. They are different. But I'm wondering how exactly they ended up in this situation. What did they have to do in order for the cycle to change? What did they have to do in order for this event to happen? Because in our original storyline, none of this was ever mentioned, none of this ever happened, but all of a sudden things have changed and now this has taken place. I'm just wondering what's happened before this that we don't know about that's led to this. I really can't think of an event in our storyline that would have caused this to happen. So there we go, guys. Hopefully you've enjoyed the video. If you have, you know what to do. Drop a like rating. This is super exciting. This is so much more than I thought we would have got. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. If you have any questions, any theories, let me know your ideas. Make sure you are subscribed to stay up to date with the latest zombies videos on the channel, and I will see you all in the next video. Until then, goodbye.